Hello everyone, my name is Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM News. Let's start from the Minister for Land and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, because he's painted a very disturbing picture of Ghana's fight against galamsey, revealing in Parliament that illegal miners have hijacked 9 forest reserves, with the Forestry Commission blocked from accessing it. According to the minister, galamsey continues to wreak severe havoc on Ghana's lands, but insisted the new government will not relent in the fight against illegal mining. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, has the rest of the story.
The Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, was on the floor to paint the picture as to the real effect of illegal mining on the grounds, including the fact that there are huge swathes of land that have been taken over by illegal miners and criminal elements, preventing even state security services from accessing these forests.
Ghana is currently faced with an unprecedented threat to our forest resources and water bodies due largely to illegal small-scale mining activities. This situation has assumed crisis proportions over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves. And, Madam Speaker, this is very important. Over 9 out of the 44 forest reserves have been completely taken over by these illegal mining thugs with impunity. And the Forestry Commission no longer have access to these forest reserves.
The Lands Minister has also been talking about the deplorable state of some river bodies because of illegal mining.
Madam Speaker, the impact of illegal mining on our water bodies, which is the second phase, is critical and equally alarming. Normal turbidity levels for water under treatment should not exceed 500 NTU. However, the current turbidity levels of these water systems are between 5,000 and 12,000 NTU. These water bodies are also contaminated with toxic chemicals such as cyanide, mercury, hydrocarbons, and used recklessly by these illegal miners.
The minister has had support from the minority side, particularly from the MP for Okaikwe Central, Patrick Boama, who has been talking about getting adequate resources for the ministry to do its work, but also warning the minister against influence peddlers, some from among Parliament itself, who will come to him and ask him to let his guard down in this fight against illegal mining.
You'll be tempted. Your colleagues will be involved. Both sides. They will come to you to plead with you. Noli prosequi you'll be tempted with it. Having gone after people, looking at the budget lines to support you in this fight. And we don't want you to come here for your ministry's budget approval and say that, oh, we requested for $500 million, we've been giving 100 million. We'll be listening to you.
The former minister for Western Region has also been proposing the use of the installation of CCTV cameras along some river bodies to police the activities of not just illegal miners, but also the river guards. Majority Leader, concluding the commentary on this important subject on the floor, did indicate that this was primarily, in his opinion, a law enforcement issue.
I see the problem as a crisis of law and order. Why do I say it's a crisis of law and order? The Minerals and Mining Law has very beautiful provisions that if we just followed it and implemented it, it will deal significantly with the problem. What are the provisions, Mr. Speaker? One, people realize that there's gold somewhere, they will go and dig. No matter what you do, it's not just Ghana, anywhere in the world. If we hear that there's gold beneath this chamber, by the time you go back and come back tomorrow morning, you will see some people who will come and find ways and means of digging underneath this chamber to extract the gold. That is gold for you. And
both sides of the House agree that this matter should transcend the ordinary boundaries of partisan politics. They are demanding concrete action from the minister and allied bodies to ensure that illegal mining is properly nipped in the bud. They say that politicizing this issue will simply give much further to illegal miners and other persons who profit from it to continue their really bad behavior that destroys the land and water bodies. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
The Energy Minister, John Jinapor, and the former board chairman of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Alexander Penyumakin, have joined calls for thorough investigation and prosecution of individuals behind what they describe as syndicated corruption at the power company over the auction of goods imported by ECG. In one instance, essential equipment valued at $500,000 was auctioned for 100,000 cedis or $6,000 and later resold to ECG for $300,000. The Energy Minister considers this a fraud that must be punished. Here's more.
You go to their warehouse, a lot of the equipment are at the mercy of the weather. I just checked from the port, and the security report I'm getting is that a container that cost about $500,000 is imported. ECG is unable to clear that container. Some way, somehow, somebody is able to buy that container at auction for 100,000 cedis, bring it into the open market, and resell it to ECG as $300,000. It will stop. And I mean, it will stop. Whatever it takes to stop that, no matter how unpopular that might be.
And the minority leader, Alexander Penyumakin, who served as board chairman of ECG between 2023 and 2024, said he raised concerns about the practice, but was largely ignored. He spoke to my colleague, Elton Brobe.
Became the chair. I was told of that story. And in fact, I had a problem with ECG having to import for and still pay duty. So one of the things I did as a board chair was to get the board to issue a new directive to the effect that any supplier who imported for ECG had to clear and deliver to our warehouse. That was the first intervention I made. So I stopped that thing upon assumption of office as chair.
So are you surprised that...
No, I'm not surprised because I know we had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of containers at the port. So what Jinapor said was right. Indeed, there were a lot of containers at the port that we had not paid for their
clearance,
duty. So when I assumed office, as a businessman, I didn't see the sense in it. You get a contract, you only drop the bill of lading and start pursuing your money, and then sometimes you are even paying the supplier and the goods have not been cleared. And it's true, people take advantage of the system where they go, the customs guys will auction, and when they auction, they go and buy it, and then somebody may have an order, and then they sell the same thing back to ECG. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
It's one of
somebody must be held responsible for it.
It's one of the things that, you know, we have to look at. So I'm happy the minister is taking a step.
Now, we're going to stay in the energy sector because the recent power outages in Kumasi have become a cause of worry to residents. What began as a few weeks ago as minutes of darkness has progressed to long hours of power cuts, leaving consumers unhappy and struggling to adapt. Irabna Akwe hits the city center to gauge the mood of power consumers and brings us this.
Parts of Kumasi have been plunged into darkness for the past few weeks, with some areas not having light at all for up to 24 hours. Despite this, the ECG in Kumasi says there is no power outages and that there is no doomso. They are only facing challenges with their system. Right now, we are on the street to engage with people. Let's hear what they have to say.
They need to consider much because if they come, people may say we are experiencing doomso. And I don't want to say it's back. I don't want to say because during the government, the Argon government, I didn't hear Kumasi people talking much about the light going off and on. So I don't want to start criticizing the new government that doomso is back. So let's wait a bit and see. Maybe during the 6th month on his office, we may be able to pass positive judgment on whether doomso is back or not.
Me hokra de me kofi am din kan frese ye doom light ana say e wo esi so.
Whenever I'm about to go home, I have to call and find out whether there is light. and there is usually no light. We are really suffering, especially in the Ashanti region. We plead for something to be done about it.
They should do what they want. People work with light, but there is no light. There is so much heat, especially when we go back to our homes in the evenings.
And you only your baby Pedia. And so Ghana, I see a Pentiana and Tia Fanasa.
Some of them fight with their wives, go to work, and turn the lights off. They do whatever they want because they don't face any consequences. It is not the fault of the government, but ECG.
As you've heard from some people on the streets of Kumasi, clearly the power cut has been affecting them both at home and in their businesses. The ECG says they are putting measures on the way to solve the issue.
As we speak, we are also battling with the issues of underground cable fault being punctured by individuals. That is also resulting in outages to our cherished customers. You would realize that some contractors are even punching our cables. We've written to the CLOGSAG and then it's being considered. So the outages being experienced by our cherished customers, we want to apologize to them and I want to assure them that ECG is putting measures in place to resolve it. As we speak, the 145 MV has been commissioned, the underground cable fault has been resolved. But where there is any other outage, we will come out and then inform our customers.
My name is Erabna Akwe, reporting for Joy News, Kumasi.
Beauty report there from Irabna. But stay home and sip your coffee. That's the latest directive to members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, that is CLOGSAG, as they prepare to lay down their tools in protest today. Their grievance, the appointment of Samuel Adumboche as Register of Births and Deaths, a move they argue is soaked in political bias. CLOGSAG insists that Mr. Boche is too politically exposed for the role and must be removed immediately. This standoff comes just hours after the government stood its ground, defending the appointment as entirely legal. At a press briefing, officials maintained that due process was followed and emphasized their willingness to engage in dialogue, though they argued or they urged CLOGSAG to rethink its strike. Presidential spokesperson Felix Kwachifosu made a direct appeal calling on the association to reconsider its stance and return to the table for discussions.
But government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is. If you are saying that a position should go to a civil servant, show us the basis for that position. They have been unable to show it. I have showed you the law and specific provisions, and you would all agree with me. Even if you have doubts about what I'm reading, you can dig up the law yourselves and read for yourself. Read Section 2 of Act 1027, the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, and satisfy yourself as to who has the authority to make the appointment. And second, whether or not the law says anywhere that the position of the Registrar of the Births and Deaths Registry should be held by a civil servant. These, for me, are the issues at play. And to the extent that government has acted lawfully, regularly, and in accordance with the Constitution, I don't see why there should be an entrenched position on the matter. We certainly have not taken an entrenched position. We cannot act illegally simply because a section of our population, in this instance, Ghanaian workers, demand that we do. I don't think that it is fair to the people of Ghana, whose taxes are used to pay civil servants, those who work in CLOGSAG, just like myself, the president, or everybody else who works within the public and civil service. You cannot take such a position, which is unfair to them, when the facts are very clear, the laws are very, very clear. If it was the case that government was violating the law, then you would have a basis. As I said, I'm aware that they went to court under the previous government. There's yet to be a determination on the matter. So if the matter has not been determined, there's no judicial pronouncement saying that the position of the law is wrong or what the president has done is wrong. I don't see why entrenched positions should be taken. I don't see why a nationwide strike should be declared.
That's Felix Kwachifosu over there. But the group, however, maintains that he is not the right person for the job. Dr. Isaac Bampuado is Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, and he stated that while they're open to dialogue, their position remains unchanged and they will proceed with their strike until their demands are met.
If we get any correspondence indicating that they want to dialogue, why not? We'll put it for that. Well, they say they want to dialogue, so. But we've not had any correspondence. He quoted, we are not saying the president hasn't got any right to appoint. The act that he referred to is the same thing that is in 195 of the Constitution. All his appointments to public services are done by the president. Nobody is disputing that part. What we are saying, there is also a Supreme Court ruling. And we all know that when it comes to the Constitution, it is the Supreme Court that gives interpretation. And the Supreme Court ruling is saying that once your political coloring becomes overt, step away from the services. If he tells us that with Mr. Butcher's political leaning is not overt, but we all know that is an NDC activist. And the Supreme Court is saying that the moment your political coloring becomes overt, stay away from the services. Some of our members have been dismissed. You see the Supreme Court ruling. So this is our position. Well, as it stands, if we have get an invitation, of course, yes, for dialogue, and tell that we are not saying this thing. But if this is what the Supreme Court is saying, what we ask our constituents to do is to sit down in their house and relax, take some coffee, and then watch Clock TV.
Labour consultant Austin Gami says the strike is not the best course of action and is urging the group to reconsider their approach in favour of dialogue.
Yes, workers have a right to go on strike, but it must be based on something. If it's just a question of the president appointing somebody into office, the authorized person by Article 195 of the Constitution is the president, who is entitled to appoint people into various offices. Under the Labour Law, Section 8A of the Labour Act 651, as an employer representing the state, they are the only authorized bodies to appoint people to various offices. The approach is what should be a source of problem for even themselves. That the way to go about this is not about going on strike. It's about engagement. It's about dialogue. So I don't know who is advising that they should go on strike to have their matter resolved. So they have to reconsider the concerns that they have.
In other news, the Member of Parliament for Kumewu, Ernest Yao Enim, is collaborating with the District Education Directorate to make education accessible to students in hard-to-reach communities in the area. Despite the availability of infrastructure such as classroom blocks at Bahankra, Domase and Mobia, pupils in scattered hamlets are forced to trek several kilometers to access school. Officials at the Setre Kumewu District Education Directorate say the development makes schooling unattractive as many pupils are forced to drop out. There's more in this report.
The Setre Kumewu District is one of the deprived districts in the Ashanti region characterized by poor education outcomes. Determined to improve falling education standards, the Member of Parliament for the area, Ernest Yao Enim, has since 2023 introduced interventions to improve the situation. This includes the introduction of pupils to practical information and communications technology with a donation of computers to all junior high schools, the provision of exercise and notebooks, and the introduction of a teachers' award scheme for exemplary work. 61 teachers and non-teaching staff were honored at the first ever award event, which saw awardees go home with motorbikes, refrigerators, television sets, laptops, amongst others. District Director of Education Kwame Oduowusu says schools in the hard-to-reach communities lack teachers and accommodation. While commending the MP for instituting a Teachers Award scheme which saw teachers in the hard-to-reach areas being rewarded with motorbikes for dedication of service, he called for support for pupils and teachers.
When teachers are motivated, they tend to bring out the best. And so now that some of them have been awarded, I believe that others will also want to be awarded next year. And so they will all bring in their best, and it will go a long way to help in our children's ability as far as education is concerned. We have about 3 or 4 places that we would describe as hard to reach. And these areas, some of them, you wouldn't see a complete town. It's like settlements, and children come from various houses to the school. So the school is central at a place. And so teachers who work there, they don't even have a place to stay. And so they will have to commute from far areas to be able to reach the children. When you look at a place like Mobia, where we have a playground, there's only one teacher there. He handles from P1 to P3, even KG. And we are trying to get more people, but he is working, he's doing his best. And I believe that awards like this will motivate others to go to such areas. We also have Domase and Bahankra, which are also difficult to reach.
The MP told the award ceremony he is concerned about the plight of the poor pupils who struggle daily to access education in difficult-to-reach areas. According to him, he wants to be remembered as a member of parliament who changed the face of education in the area.
I want to leave behind a legacy. That legacy where Kumewu will remind me for every good thing we did within our educational sector. We awarded one of the difficult areas, the teachers with a motorbike. What I'm planning to do is to do more. You go to areas like Bahankra, Domase, students find it hard to commute to schools. Those are some of the issues I'm thinking about. How do we get students to their schools? I'm thinking, do we provide means of transportation from the chalets of Domase, chalet of Bahankra, to where we have these schools? And those are areas I'm thinking around. And I believe that going forward, we are looking at extending our focus to other areas. Now we have only one teacher at Mobia. My goal is to get at least 4 or 5 teachers at Mobia by the next time we hold such an event.
Meanwhile, Paulina Efia-Ago of Kumewu Anglican JHS has been awarded the overall Best Teacher Award for the Central Kumewu district. She took home a refrigerator, a certificate, a plaque, and cash prize of 3,000 Ghana cedis. Ohim Interiors reports for Joy News.
It's time now to get into our business update, served by Samuel Kojo Brace.
Let's do the business updates now, and we start from how the currencies are performing today. Away from that, business groups are mounting pressure on government to come up with innovative ways of enforcing the tax laws to rope in more businesses into the tax net. Their concern is coming at a time government has indicated that it will be heavy on tax compliance measures in the 2025 budget. Speaking to Joy Business, Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chonam Akekblo, said the right infrastructure must be adopted to ensure businesses in the formal and informal sectors of the economy pay the right taxes.
There are several huge mansions all over the city of Accra. They are not paying taxes. Most of them, not that they don't want to pay taxes, but nobody goes to them for taxing. Look, I have a friend in East Legon. He lived all his life in the US. He's back home. He's been asking how he can pay his tax on his house. And as of today, nobody goes to his house to collect tax. So we would like to see the infrastructure put in place to collect tax from all of these real estate owners and so on. And if we're able to do that effectively, that will be one of the surest ways to mobilize money. Enforcement using the Buga mechanism have not worked. coming to lock our offices and all of that is never worked. So there has to be a more innovative ways of ensuring that people comply. We are going to be engaging GRA on this Friday and other government officials about how best to have this done. But we are sure that once the systems are put in to ensure that everybody within a tax network is able to pay tax, that's one of the surest ways. That system, government has to think through and create it. Then we're happy to support in making sure that it works.
Well, the Bank of Ghana continues to increase the amount of dollars it sells to commercial banks in the country. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
The Bank of Ghana has been heavy on the market in terms of dollar support over the past 3 weeks. It has also been consistent in terms of the timelines for carrying out the required auctions for commercial banks. For instance, on Tuesday, the Bank of Ghana, through the 7-day auction, announced that it was going to sell some $60 million. However, official results showed that only $49 million were taken up by the banks. This has led to some arguing that not all the amount supplied has even been taken up by the market, signaling less dollar demand over the past 2 weeks. The city's performance has also been complemented by improved dollar supply from the interbank market, as well as some dollar inflows coming from the offshore investors that are participating in the second bond market. The city is currently trading at 15 cedis 80 pesos among the forex bureaus, down from the over 16 cedis a week ago. Some have also argued that if the city is able to withstand the first quarter pressure, then we could be assured that the outlook will not be that bad for the rest of the year.
Well, let's wrap up the business update with what is happening in the commodities market. For the business update on the AM News. Back to you, Sweetie Abochi.
Thank you, Kojo Brace. That's it for the news, the AM News Bulletin on the AM show. Stay for the news review. Our guest today, Awal Mohammed, former head for Youth Employment Agency, and Timothy Awuntrim is former member of Parliament for Bilsa North. Please stay. We'll be back in a bit. Hey.